The South African Union of Students wants Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nzimande, to clear historic debt, and students at some universities and other institutions of higher learning are on a nationwide strike, demanding that the minister address their demands. Joining us now to react to the demands of the students, we speak to Ismael Mnisi. He speaks for the Department of Higher Education and Training. Mr. Mnisi, thanks for your time. Is there a way forward in what is going on in the higher education sector right now? Are there any possible solutions around this?
Collie, good day. Certainly, in response to your question, there is a way forward. We have effectively so responded to SAU's 15 demands that they've given to the department. And as you know, in all our responses, we are hopeful that the students should appreciate the work that government is doing in order to, meet their demands. And I must indicate upfront, Collie, that these demands are not new. They are, we've been dealing with them from year in, year out. And
all right, Ismael Mnisi, I think you may have muted yourself by mistake there. I'm not sure, but we seem to have lost your sound. Can you hear us? Okay, all right. Perhaps let's go through these demands. As you say, that these are not new demands. Let's start with the one around scrapping historical debt. Universities have been saying that collectively that amounts to about 10 billion rand. Is the money to do exactly what the students are demanding, to scrap that 10 billion?
Collie, no, there is no money to scrap historical debt. As a department and government, we are not in a position or in a financial position to be able to support all our institutions to clear all student debt so that there should be a free payment of, there should be free student debts. We are unable to meet that commitment at the moment. And why that is the case? Firstly, it's because when we're talking of historical debt, we are talking about the debt that one was incurred at the time when NSFAS was a loan. And since 2018, when NSFAS became a bursary, it's a free bursary, and we are not expecting our students to repay the system back. However, the conditions that applied before the bursary, the loan conditions, this is where historical debt comes in. However, there is a component of the student, which we need to indicate that students in the main, when they're talking of historical debt in the current conjuncture they're referring to, is the issue of the missing middle, the ones that in the main are not covered by the NSFAS funding policy. And we are talking about roughly 20% of the students who are not covered by NSFAS bursary policies, and the other 20% is able to pay for those fees directly from their own family support. So we as NSFAS are paying for more than 65%, 70% of the students currently, and henceforth they are not expected to pay it back, and so that fraction, I think it should be clearly indicated that we are only talking about those who the system is doing something to assist the very same student. I think it goes to the second part to say that we have made arrangements probably with our universities that for the final year students who are about to exit the system, that they be assisted with their academic records so that they can be able to apply for employment and be able to pay back that money into the system. Where we experience problems currently are with the second and the third year students within the system who are not covered, the missing middle. However, we do not at all have a problem with the students that are NSFAS beneficiaries.
Yeah, so when you say then, as a department, that you're going to reprioritize your budget in order to try and assist financially, where is that money going to be reprioritized from, and which areas will you be able to cover? I can hear you, Ismael. Hopefully you can hear me. All right. So I'm talking about the reprioritization. You've committed. You've committed as a department through the minister that you're going to reprioritize the department's budget. So which areas are going to be covered by this money that will have been diverted from where?
Well, firstly, let us as a department would like to thank the cabinet decision that actually came with the decision to reprioritize the funds to cover NSFAS. Those funds, recall that only we had a shortfall on the amount for the first year entry student, and as a department we therefore made an appeal to cabinet that they must consider giving us additional funds to cover that category of new students, the 2020 students or matriculants who are now joining the system. And cabinet considered to it, and they gave us money to be able to cover that shortfall. That is the first thing. Now, and secondly, cabinet requested the department to reprioritize some of its expenditure, which is a process that we are going to look at with Treasury in terms of the reconfiguration of the spending. But that does not end there. That reconfiguration of the spending is also looked at broadly within the government sector, and that is why the Minister of Finance made an undertaking that in the medium-term budget statement, that reprioritization will be announced and these funds will be made available. So we are, working towards that reprioritization on the current funds that we are having, and not to compromise the system in the process. And henceforth, we are saying that there is money that is available in the system to cater for NSFAS students, and there is no need where we stand, where we should be, having the student protesting, particularly those that are covered by the system, and including those that in the middle, in the missing middle, because there is enormous work, that we do not have time now to, indicate the work that we are doing to assist them, even the postgraduate students, which we are assisting them through the National Research Foundation money. So we believe that it is really unjustified that the students will go on protest in the midst of progress that we have been reporting to them, on the meetings that we are having with them, because we do have meetings almost every week with the students and the University South Africa, representing all the VCs, discussing these pertinent issues that affect the sector. And when we received their demands, as in now the 15 of them, we effectively so responded. And the issue of that,
Ismael, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this specific question. Today, as things hold, studying in universities is done virtually. That means students must have laptops, and they also have to have access to data so that they are able to attend classes virtually. How have you assisted in that regard?
Thank you for that question, Koli. Koli, you'll recall that when COVID-19 began, we as government pronounced that we will be supporting our students both at universities and TVET colleges with gadgets, including data. We did it effectively so for the 3 months of the hard lockdown, where universities were, or even all our institutions were not opened. And when gradually we began to come back on site, part of the data provision that we're making, because it was for 3 months, it was stopped. However, there were platforms that were created by universities and TVET colleges to support students who are at home.
What are those platforms?
They were doing it firstly through, making available their websites. They were for free, and data and the information was uploaded on those websites of the universities, of the Tibet colleges, and also there were virtual classes that were arranged by institutions in groups. And we supported that as a department. But
so how would the students? So let me ask. Let me just ask you, when you say information was made available for free on university websites, how would these students access those websites if they don't have laptops in front of them? Would that mean them physically going to school to be in front of a computer?
No. What the arrangements, probably, let's address the issues of laptops, which was the next point which I was going to. When we began the process, the COVID-19 situation, immediately we communicated to our universities that they must provide gadgets for the students within the confines of their own policies, whether as loans to the students, whilst we as government are finalizing the process of procurement of laptops for the students. And universities responded positively. There are institutions, due to their nature, in which the majority of students are staying in rural areas or where the areas where there's no connectivity. This is where we've made special arrangements, including the delivery of the study materials to some of those students in those areas where they've spoken to the institutions that they can't be able to access data and there is no connectivity at all. So there was a differentiated approach by universities, including our Tibet colleges, to support their.
All right. Ismael, I think you have muted yourself there again. I cannot get your sound. Ismael, are you able to unmute yourself there? Okay, there. The button, the mute button, has now released. Let me do this, Ismael. Let me ask you. I'm here. Can you hear me? Ismael, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Cody.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I want to wrap up this conversation, but the last few points I want to tackle with you. Let me do that after the short break. We're going to continue in just a moment. You are joining us now. We are in conversation with Ismael Mnisi. He speaks for the Department of Higher Education and Training. Ismael, I want to pick up on one last point, and as I'm about to talk to you now about Unisa, the issue that became topical around Unisa was that the minister had instructed that institution to cut the intake of the first-year students. That decision, as we now know, has been reversed by the courts. Talk to us about why this was made in the first place, this call.
Well, firstly, Polly, the minister entered into agreements with our institutions in terms of the intake of students. Annually, the enrollment plans are made ahead. Actually, we made them in a 3-year period where we would agree with institutions the quantum of or the number of students that must be admitted per institution. Now, the majority of, or actually all of our universities, except for Unisa, adhered to their enrollment plans, and Unisa did not do so. And this is why we have seen an increment in the enrollment of first entry students at Unisa. This is what led to the minister writing to the Council of Unisa to indicate that they should stick to their enrollment plans because of it affects the entire post-school education and training sector, including, by the way, the intake of students at Tibet colleges.
Ismael, as I speak to you right now, we're feeding to viewers the live pictures that are taking place outside that institution, and it is burning outside Unisa, and it's as a result of the anger. What did you expect these students to do, the ones that you were saying should not be enrolled by the institution? What was going to happen to them?
Well, what was going to, the plan was that we do have 26 universities in our country, firstly, and that we would use our cash system, which is our central application system, to redirect the number of students that would have been registered by Unisa to other institutions. That process has already started. The cash system is effective, and we do receive a number of students where we redirect to the entire post-school education and training system based on their qualification. But I must indicate clearly that the minister, has requested that the student must exercise restraint and ensure that they have a peaceful protest and that they protest within the confines of the law. And that is, that is a position that we hold in terms of the violent protestation, and we've made that appeal to make sure that we don't destroy the infrastructure that we have in our universities, as we raise certain concerns, because that on its own is counter-revolutionary. It is not going to assist the very same student in achieving their objectives.
All right. Ismael, as I speak to you, please can I ask you to just pause there for a moment. We're going to bring into the conversation our colleague, that's Pilane Pachati. He is the one that is live outside Unisa. Pilane, the call from the Ministry of Higher Education is that students conduct the protest peacefully, and the burning of tires outside that institution is outside of what the institution or the department is calling for. Why are students conducting themselves in this manner? What's caused them to burn tires?
Well, definitely. I mean, it is clear that the students here have heeded to the call of earlier that there must be a national shutdown, and of course that here at the Sunnyside Unisa campus is exactly what is happening. And just perhaps to answer to that question of yours, I'd like to go directly to Thabo Magis from the EFF Student Command here in Unisa. You can see that the tires are burning here, but Thabo, there has been conversations about the resolutions to some of the challenges that you guys are facing. Are you still feeling aggrieved despite the fact that ongoing conversations are being had with the Department of Higher Education?
First of all, we don't have confidence in the Department of Education together with Dr. Nzimande because of the position that initially postulated is extremely reactionary in the sense that it intended to exclude 20,000 students of the University of South Africa. What we want to hear from the Department of Education together with Unisa is that these 20,000 students who were excluded by the university should be implemented and be absorbed by the system. So we are waiting for the MAD of the Continental Institution, Professor Linkabule, to absorb those students. If those students are not yet absorbed, we're going to continue this protest and everything like that. But it is befitting for me to also illustrate to you that at the epicenter of the challenges that we're faced with at Unisa is the question of NSFAS. As we speak to you at this decisive moment, we have a situation whereby students who are funded by NSFAS, their registration are not activated, they are not funded by NSFAS. What is going to happen automatically is the fact that those students are going to be activated and registered later. It means that these students are going to receive study material later. At the end of the day, these students are going to be excluded by the very same institution which is delaying them. So we are pronouncing war at the University of South Africa to say that no, it must absorb those 20,000 students, activate their registration, and NSFAS must come and pay for their registration fee. The second component we need to dispense with here is the question of the students who are doing high certificates. It is to say that no, there are students who have completed their high certificates. Students who are studying at other institutions are being given preferences at the exclusion of Unisa students. So we are saying that no, the first preference should be Unisa students who are doing high certificates. It simply cannot be that students who are coming from TUT, UG and everything like that are going to be absorbed first at the exclusion of Unisa students who are already in the system, you understand? So that is the war that we're bringing to the University of South Africa. We are saying to them that no, they must absorb and give FI concession to every student that is affected. But in conclusion, when solidarity to the national shutdown, which was pronounced by the EFF Student Command, we are bringing war to the Minister of Education. We don't want these things of NSFAS, by the way. We want free education for all. If the Minister of Education can pronounce that no, education for all, everything shall come back to normal. But I can take into confidence that no, this strike is going to continue. We're in solidarity with VET, we're in solidarity with TJ, and all these institutions.
Yeah, definitely. Let me stop you right there for now. I think it will be important for me to highlight that we did hear that there was a meeting with SAUS, and one of the people who were in that particular meeting is Nzimande. He's the National SRC Secretary of Unisa. There was a meeting, we do understand, Amukelani. What was the content of that particular meeting and what was the outcome?
Yeah, no, look, what we did to our management, we said there are a plethora of issues in the institution that are affecting our students here at Unisa. The historical debt is the center of our issues. The exclusion, the financial exclusion of our students is the center of those problems that were heavy. And we wrote to management and also to the Vice Chancellor that can we look into the financial exclusion that has happened last year, particularly for 5,000 students who were deliberately excluded by NSFAS, telling them that they will no longer fund them. And those students have confirmed that they got those letters this year. We have said this issue is a very alarming issue. Can it be resolved? And we were told by the management that the management team has tasked the registrar of the university and the CFO to look into this matter. We are calling again to Minister Nzimande that he must prioritize this issue of historical debts, because this is one of the alarming problems in our institution. And we were disappointed that we expected him even yesterday to meet with student leaders. He didn't come. In fact, he decided to send Guti who came there and say nothing. So we were saying that we will continue with the shutdown till our demands are adequately met by our management. We are saying the university must follow suit what happened in CUT.
Definitely. Amukelani Ngwenya is the SRC National Secretary here, just giving us an indication of the outcome of that meeting they had with Southern as well as some stakeholders across the country. But I think it is also important, to ask the question as to say there are the issues that are being raised here about that particular historic debt and the challenges of Unisa students. Will that be resolved, and can they engage management to try and ensure that the 2,000 students who are in the system but cannot register can be able to register anytime soon? Correct?
All right. Pilani, I'm going to ask that we stay on your picture. Give us those pictures as we continue the conversation with the spokesperson of the Higher Education Department, Ismael Mnisi. Ismael, firstly, is the Minister of Higher Education running away from meeting with students?
No, certainly. The person that the student leader was referring to now is Manamela. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ishmael. Please go ahead.
Oh, yes. I was saying that the person that the student is referring to is the Deputy Minister of the Department of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Manamela. And the Deputy Minister has been leading the stakeholder engagement platforms of the department since the beginning of COVID-19, as agreed with the Minister. This is the reason why he represented the department in the South meeting that took place over the weekend.
But that's the problem, Ishmael. The problem, the students do not want to hear from Manamela because they're saying he's communicated nothing. They want a meeting with the Minister of Higher Education. Is there a commitment on Minister Nzimande's part to meet with the students?
Now, let's start firstly about the issue of the Deputy Minister not communicating anything. The Deputy Minister was communicating the response of the department regarding the demands of South. They gave us 15 demands. The Deputy Minister was responding to each one of them. So he did communicate something according to us, which represented the views of the department and that of the minister.
So it's safe to say at this stage, Ishmael, because unfortunately time is against us. I want to get a clear communique from you as to whether or not the Minister of Higher Education sees it fit to meet with the students face to face, given what is now taking place around the country, a national shutdown?
Only the minister has forever committed to meet with student leadership to discuss any matter that affects the sector. In actual fact, on Monday, when the issue of the shortfall happened, there was a meeting with the minister and the leadership of SAUS. Before the media briefing that we have held on Wednesday, there was a meeting between the minister and SAUS, meaning with the representation of all SRCs. We remain committed to that engagement. We have not closed doors. We'll engage them, including the response that we gave them. We are willing to engage them further on it and the reasons, therefore, why the department has responded in the manner that it has responded. And they know the platforms that we engage on as and when there are issues. And we have not closed that door and will remain to engage them. But, Cody, what is important is that the rules of engagement and the responses that we give, if students have a particular issue within our response that they do not agree with, they must not say there is no engagement, because of that is untruthful. There is engagement that's taking place. The student must say, well, we do not agree with a particular response that we have received from the minister, but they must not, it must not be reflected as if the minister is totally unavailable, is not engaging with the student, because that's not the true reflection of the situation.
Yeah, Ismael, as I wrap up with you, does Minister Nzimande stand by a statement he made, and that is that the higher education sector would not be in the turmoil that it is in today had it not been for former President Jacob Zuma's announcement in December of 2017? Does he stand by that statement?
Well, I've not discussed that position with the minister. Perhaps it is appropriate that the minister will statement. I would only respond to administrative issues at the moment.
Ismael Mnisi, let's leave it there for the time being. Ismael Mnisi is the spokesperson for the Higher Education Department, and we thank you for your time and indeed the extended period that you've stayed with us. Pilane Pagadi, let's wrap it up with you. The students are very clear that the Minister of Higher Education has got to be the one that meets with them, but the spokesperson does seem to suggest that there is ongoing engagement anyway. The issue here is about the rules of engagement. How are students responding?
Well, definitely, Koli, and I think it has always been a crisis, one could actually just add on over the last few years, and as particularly even this year, the students have just been lamenting that not even once has the minister at least called upon a media briefing just to address issues only pertaining to issues of higher education, and only waited for the post-cabinet meeting to come through and address issues, and only then just gave a statement as written, and they feel that the minister himself has not really been coming forth to give their concerns. But joining me now, I think it is important that in the Tshwane district they give us a little bit of a concern. Yourself in itself, you are one of the leaders here of Unisa. Your name again, sir?
It's Prince Mputi.
Yeah, please. Yeah, Prince. Just share with us. There has been meetings, but it so seems that you want the minister himself to be the one who addresses these kind of meetings. Is that the feel even here on the ground at Unisa, that you'll only stop once the minister himself addresses some of these concerns?
Yeah, absolutely. We do not want to find us in the entanglement that we find ourselves in, because it's a matter of time that this entanglement take life out of us. It is to say that issues that are here also they do also concern the minister, in that being the 4.7 fee increase which affects students at this point in time. We have the institution implementing this policy at this point in time. So then, being a rational person, one cannot accept that to happen. To say that many of these students come from COVID, like all of us will do come from COVID. Many have been retrenched, many do not have funds to pay for those fees. So we therefore say in our posture that we want the institution to scrap off the AOD policy for this year, just to allow these students to register and also allow them to be back into the system. Hence you see our approach here. Inclusive of that is our issues of CTA FI concessions, of which students of CTA were supposed to write the SAICA board exams. However, due to the super semester logic, they've been excluded in that regard. So then we are saying that no issue must be left unattended. So then we want the entire management of Unisa together with DHEAD and address these issues as far as they can.
Definitely, that Prince there, Mputi. Thank you very much for giving us that particular light, a breakdown of issues as you see them and as you want them addressed. Koli, we do now understand that this particular branch, should I say, of campus, Sunnyside campus, administratively, it has been closed. There has not been any movement. People are not allowed to go inside, even staff. And that the head office were also told that students had marched onto there earlier in the morning and they tried to ensure that people are not going forward. But because we have not really witnessed that, I think it would be unprudent of me to say that completely all operations have stopped at that particular site. But here at the Sunnyside office in Pretoria, there seems to be no movement whatsoever as far as going inside is concerned. Students very much adamant that they will continue to shut down until at least the minister comes through and addresses some of their concerns and even meet them halfway, as the spokesperson was saying, Ismael Mnisi, that the minister is still willing to meet with them and continue to find the engagements, but they are saying that until a feasible resolution has been made, they will heed to the call of Saus and continue with the national shutdown.